Welcome to Decoding the Unknown with your host, Tiffany H. Lewis. Be prepared to believe. If you don't already, join Tiffany as she uncovers mysteries and secrets and shares them with you. Follow and subscribe on iHeartRadio and ClearSource Radio. Get in on the conversation live Fridays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time at 254-987-5027. Get ready to dive into the unknown.
Hi guys! Hello everyone. Welcome to Decoding the Unknown. This is Tiffany H. Lewis on ClearSource Radio and also on iHeartRadio. How's everyone doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. And I would like to formally say welcome to the awakening process. If you are a first-time listener, first, third, and fifth Fridays of every month, right here on ClearSource Radio, and then the next day on iHeartRadio, I go through the awakening process with you. And I explain to you things that all of us see every single day with our bare eyes, yet many do not pay attention to, many do not acknowledge, many would call that, anti-religious or, it doesn't even matter what you call it. But listen, there's this whole thing going on, not in the world, but that is the world. This is the world that we live in. And sometimes it takes months for one to become awakened. Sometimes it takes years. And it doesn't matter. There's no race as long as you become awakened. So this is Decoding the Unknown. This is the awakening process. And with that said, I'm going to start with the definition of illuminati. It actually means the illuminated one, the awakened one, the enlightened one. And the object of this show is to wake you up, because the vast majority of society is A, asleep, or B, a sheep. And no, I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but either way, wake up, guys. So tonight we're going to talk about multiple things, but tonight's show is titled The Matrix. So the Matrix is the world in which we live, and it's somewhere between the visible and the invisible. Yet, please remember that the truth is always, always hidden in plain sight. So, for example, you've seen the movie The Matrix. If not, check it out. There is so much truth to that movie that it is ridiculous. And once you become aware of the things that I expose to you, then all of a sudden you start to awaken. You start to see them everywhere. You start to understand the importance of, the Illuminati or the black and white, checkered tile floor, things in music videos, such as in the picture for tonight's show. You see a woman, a female, who's bathing. There's a bathtub in front of her, and she's covered in like black, paint, or I don't know, something black that resembles paint. And when you awaken and when you become enlightened, which is just having the knowledge, it's like you wake up every day. You go to work, you come home, you do the same thing, you go to bed, you eat breakfast, play with the kids, whatever, go to work, come home, go to bed, do the same thing every single day, right? Haven't you ever just felt this yearning, this calling inside of your heart? Actually, it's deeper. It's in the pit of your soul. It's this big question mark. What is real? What is not? How can this just be life? How is there nothing more than this? But you guys, there is. And it's literally hidden right in front of our faces in plain sight. You just have to know what to look for. Some may call me a conspiracy theorist for the things that I will discuss. Don't care. Those people are asleep. So you can either acknowledge it, do a little bit more research, Stay tuned into this show every first, third, and fifth Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Check out YouTube videos. I don't care where you extract your information. The idea is to extract as much knowledge and as much information as you can. And on this show, every time I record this show, I try to pick one subject because there are so many subjects, a few of which I mentioned just a moment ago. I probably touched on 3 separate subjects that require their own 1-hour show just for each separate subject. Okay, so let me start with the picture of tonight's show. You've got a female covered in something that's like black. Maybe it resembles blood. Let's just pretend, for the sake of this conversation, that it's black blood. Now, in front of the lady, in the picture of tonight's episode that you'll see on Clear Source Radio, iHeartRadio, and also on Facebook, you'll see in front of this lady a bathtub. Now, a bathtub is of the utmost importance because during the awakening process, and specifically for celebrities, for the sake of this point, you know, every celebrity that has been cloned or has been forced into the Illuminati or willingly tells you out loud that they sold their soul, you know, for fame and money and to become a famous musician or actress or whatever. So every one of them will come to a point where they either make a music video or there's a scene in a movie, or, you know, there will be some really huge picture and or video right in front of our faces. And while you think that's a really cool video of them in a bathtub, that bathtub actually represents the bathing of, you know, you're kind of washing off the old you and you are fully submissing to the Illuminati, to Satan, to, you know, agnostics, however you would like to term that. It doesn't matter how you term it. It is the washing away of the old person that you used to be and all that you believed in, and succumbing to and actually rising to the level of you're bathing in literal pig's blood or maybe someone that you've murdered's blood, or, you know, milk is another one that they bathe in a lot. And no matter what it is that they're bathing in a particular music video, and while I'm right here, I'm going to go ahead and shout out a few of those videos. So if you don't believe me, you can see it for yourself. Number 1, Rihanna, Stay. Number 2, Taylor Swift, her newest album. Literally every single song on that album, it's right there. It's in plain sight. You've got her in the bathtub. You've got her doing, there are steps. So during the process of the awakening and before one becomes cloned, which I actually have no proof of that, so maybe it's after they become cloned, and cloning is something that we've discussed on this show, and I might touch on it a little bit, but for right now I want to go through the phases as you rise through the ranks. So you start out, you know, normal person. Take me, for example. Okay, so I want to be rich and I want to be famous. So I'm going to go to somewhere that may be considered the crossroads, or I'm going to put out into the universe that I want to sell my soul to the devil and or any other creatures or demons, such as specific demons by names, who I'm not going to call by names, but there are, you know, very, very specific demons that one can conjure and call upon and use them to better their life. On top of demons, we have reptilians, we have clones, we have, like I said before, Gnostics, we have archons, we have all these different groups of beings that resided here on Earth before humans, before dinosaurs. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you believe in God, the Bible, evolution, the devil, it doesn't matter. There's history here, and you have to wake up to see it And when you see it and you start to see how obvious it is, it's laughable. Like literally laughable how obvious that they're throwing this stuff in our face. And, you know, we can choose to A, wake up, or B, ignore it. And I don't care what you do. Me, I'm awakening. I'm all for it. I love knowledge. I yearn for knowledge. And I know deep, deep, deep in the pit of my core, even if you want to call that a heart or a soul or whatever, just somewhere deep in my core and in my brain, in my wiring, in my veins, in my DNA, I know for a fact that there is something more than just getting up and going to work and coming home and having dinner and putting the kids to bed and taking them to school and getting up and going to work, letting the animals out, etc., etc., etc. This repetition that we do every day, you guys, you're stuck in the matrix. That's the point of this. That is why this show is called The Matrix this evening. The Matrix is the world that we live in. It is everything around us that is visible and also not visible. However, once you become illuminated, enlightened, awakened, knowledgeable of the things to look for, that again will become so blatantly obvious it's laughable at some point. And you're like, wow, how does nobody else see that, you know? And you just feel like 99.999% of the world is asleep or they're sheep. And the reason that you'll feel that way after you begin to awaken, and please don't mistake me, I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone, and I'm not calling myself fully awakened. I don't know that there is such a thing as fully awakened, fully enlightened, fully illuminated. All I know is that there are ranks that one must go through. So I'll come back to that in just a minute. So back to what I was saying. I wanted to say to you that, you know, hey, I want to become a rich and a famous, you know, singer. So I'm going to start off as a pure, innocent self, me, myself, my actual self, and whatever my beliefs are. Nobody cares. Okay? As you become more famous or you yearn for more fame, you can call upon demons. You can go to the crossroads and try to sell your soul to the devil. You could worship ancient Egyptians. You could worship archons. You could worship Gnostics. It doesn't matter which method you choose. It's just that you have to understand that there are multiple ways of going about it, and that there is so much more than just us humans. And you also need to realize that at some point, when a famous person becomes famous enough, you need to understand that they're a clone. Because why do you think that they never age? Why do you think that, you know, in one music video, Eminem, for instance, has all these tattoos? You know, go back and watch one of his videos from the beginning, when he was first beginning, and look at him today. And look at how different and how pure and how perfect he looks. And look at his lack of tattoos that were there. You know, look at the people that he associates with. Look at how his songs have changed. I can say the same thing for Ed Sheeran, who basically became famous overnight. I'm not going to list too many names. I'm going to stick with Rihanna, Taylor Swift, or Tay-Tay as I call her, Ed Sheeran, and Eminem. Now, I want you to know that all, right now, in 2018, they're all working together, and their songs kind of have each other in them, okay? And that's nothing more than that is the point of that. They're all working together, too. And, you know, Taylor Swift is cloned. Eminem has been cloned. There is no cap on how many times you can be cloned. Every clone comes back a little bit different every single time. So body parts may be a little bit enhanced or enlightened. A perfect complexion versus what we all know those hot stage lights do to you when you're on stage having a concert, right? They obviously, you know, come out with these commercials about how it breaks their face out. Jessica Simpson made a commercial about it and started representing some acne prevention product or whatever. So, because that's what the sweat and those hot lights do to you. However, your clone, you know, it's a little bit different every single time you're cloned. But, and again, I don't want to get too much into the cloning this evening. I want to talk about the Matrix, but for the sake of being able to discuss the Matrix, you have to understand that I have to lay the foundation here. So the foundation is that you know that Taylor Swift is a clone, Eminem is a clone, Rihanna's either a clone or is about to become a clone. Ed Sheeran is in the beginning of his process. However, I'm pretty sure he's been cloned by now, at least once. And you need to know that these people are not dead. They are taken to a cloning facility, an underground cloning facility. And I'm going to choose my words very wisely because I don't want to end up dead over this conversation. And while that also may be laughable, it is very, very true. And if you don't believe me, Google Max Spears and see what happened to him for exposing this. So I, on the other hand, do not care about exposing this because I not only believe it, I am almost entranced by it. I love it. I love the awakening process. I yearn to learn more. I love knowing things that are hidden in plain sight that everyone else overlooks as, oh, well, that's just their video or that's just their whatever. And that's just the words that they say. Or, like that hand symbol doesn't mean anything. That gesture means nothing. And while we're talking about hand gestures for a minute, I want to talk about Masons and Freemasons. I don't have a lot of knowledge to pass on to you about, Masons and Freemasons that I'm comfortable talking about at this point. But I can tell you it's male dominant, predominantly males. Most women aren't allowed. So the few women that are allowed to be engaged in any of these activities, consider them lucky and or consider them a clone. So back to the clone for just 1 second. Anyone who's been cloned, aka Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Eminem, their actual physical body, who they were before, so like whatever Taylor Swift's real name was before, or whatever Miley Cyrus's real name was before, which was Destiny Hope Cyrus, right? After Billy Ray Cyrus is her father. And Eminem's name is Marshall. He also has a song named Stan. He also goes by several other different names. Anyway, their bodies are taken to an underground... All right. Their bodies are taken to an underground base. So envision that the world is round for just a moment. Now imagine if the world is round, like picture a globe in your head of the world, right? It's round, like the sun is round and the moon is round and the globe, us, we in the world is round. Now imagine that the outer layer of that globe that you're envisioning in your head, all the way around the whole thing is another circle, right? Sort of like how Saturn and Mars and Pluto, they have rings around them, right? So Earth actually has rings inside of it. So here's the globe, here's Earth. Let's put a little ring inside of it that's very close to the exterior of the actual shape of the globe. Okay, so in that space, in that first gap of space between the outside of the globe and just a couple inches in for the sake of, envisioning it. Okay, so all of that goes all the way around. And what that is, those are underground bases. That is an entire underground world, right? Like there's a train that can take you from, New York to Japan in 30 minutes flat. It's underground. It's hidden in that layer. The layer that is invisible to the naked eye, but is completely visible to those who are awakened or those who have been forced into it or have used it for their pleasure or whatever. So back to the clones for a minute. You have to take, for instance, Taylor Swift or Eminem or whomever, and you have to take them to one of these underground bases. And in these underground bases, they perform tests and they clone you there. And every single clone is attached to every single real the person that's being cloned, their, let me try to word this carefully, their brain, their emotions, their stimulations, their consciousness is transferred. The body is laying sort of like where these alien stories come from, right? You've got a body laying on a silver cold table. There's a body laying there. And then you've got like these like test tubes with actual bodies growing in them. Okay, well, that's true, y'all. That's cloning 101. So let's just pretend Taylor Swift is laying on a table somewhere and her conscious and self-consciousness are transferred to the clone, which is grown in this large tank, much like an embryo is in a womb, right? And everything that is done to Taylor Swift's clone, which keep in mind that I'm talking about this for the sake of you understanding why these people never age. Why do they get prettier every day, every year, every video? Why do they turn 50 and all of a sudden look 20? You might call that plastic surgery, and some of them are actually having plastic surgery, but most of them are being cloned. But the thing is, with the Illuminati, and I can't say whether the Masons or Freemasons are involved or not because I don't have that information because I'm not a male. Therefore, I'm not allowed into these secret meetings, so I don't know the answer. And even if I did, I wouldn't reveal it anyway. But so they're cloned and their subconscious and their consciousness is transferred. So Taylor Swift is laying on a table in a base underground that goes around the whole globe. And, you know, if they need to be somewhere, they take this train that goes around. So it's like a wheel, okay? So pretend that the globe is a wheel. You've got your outer ring, right? The shape of the globe is your outer wing. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to add an inner ring, right? So this now forms an actual circle inside of a circle, right? I mean, it makes sense, right? That's exactly how a wheel is, you know, shaped. Then we have to have, you know, portals. You have to have a place that goes up, a place that goes, you know, top, bottom, left, right, and God knows how many other different directions. And each one of them is directly linked to those inner and outer rings of the globe. And then maybe even in the center of that, there's a circle. In the very center of the globe is another circle. Now that inner circle at the innermost centered middle point of the globe, that perfectly shaped circle, that is the Illuminati. Potentially the Masons, the Freemasons, potentially, you know, Skull and Bones, but it's your highest up people. It could be the Queen of England. It could be, you know, there's a long list of names that I'm probably not going to name all of them, but, you know, let's just pretend that I'm being hypothetical. Hypothetically, in the middle of the globe that is now shaped like a wheel, and you realize that the outer globe is just the shape of the globe, and we're just like any other planet, right? And yeah, there's life on other planets, but that's a whole other subject. So inside of our globe, we are a wheel. We are shaped like a wheel. There is that outer ring, which like literally follows the outer of the globe. And that ring, you know, just pretend like you draw a circle inside of the circle. So you got the globe, draw a circle inside of it that's almost as big as the globe, but just a little bit thinner. You got to be able to make a shape like a wheel. And then now go to the center of that globe, draw another circle, right? And then take that circle and start putting portals in it. You need spaces that go from the middle of the globe out all the way through to that inner ring. Outer ring is the globe. Just inside of that is the inner ring. In between the inner ring and the outer ring is the underground world that we are all slaves to. In the middle of the globe is a circle of our masters that we are all enslaved to. And we'll get as deep as I can get, as this hour will allow me to get. We'll get as deep as we can into that. However, for the sake of for this part of the conversation, the inner globe, the circle inside of the middle of the globe, now that you know that there's underground bases that go around the entire world, as I would put it, and every one of those bases, you know, they clone people, they do things that I'm not going to mention, you know, they clone them, and the clone, So, for instance, Taylor Swift is actually still alive. She's not dead. She's like asleep. And every time she gets worn out or doesn't want to do a concert, or people want to have their way with her, they just clone her. Now, everything that happens to her clone, Taylor Swift, who is like asleep, like Sleeping Beauty, right? For instance, she can feel it, like physically feel what's happening to her body. Now, her body is being used as raw material, as an artist, as a person who works nonstop, always has a smile on their face. And, you know, the reason, if you don't believe me, you know, just watch any of her videos, watch any of Eminem's videos, just watch what happens, you know, when a star rises to a certain point and they get kind of fed up and worn out with things, and, you know, you start to see changes in their behavior. But the point is, they're honest about it. They'll tell you to your face, yeah, this is my clone. I have cloned. I have sold my soul to the devil. And the devil, again, it doesn't have to be the devil. It could be the Gnostics. It could be the demons. It could be the Illuminati. At the end of the day, it's still always the Illuminati. It's still always the Gnostics, and it's still always the reptilians, and, you know, the higher ranking groups of beings and or creatures that rule the world that we live in. So in the center, just like in the Hunger Games, which is another really good example of why my point is valid. You watch Hunger Games, all 3 or 4, however many of them that there are, and they talk about the Matrix, and they actually show you that, you know, Jennifer Lawrence, the lead person, and whoever the other people were in that movie, they have to fight each other for survival, and only one person can live, and then they win. So she gets with this guy, and they PETA, and they pretend to fall in love with each other and try to do anything to get out of the Hunger Games, which is, I'm not going to ruin the movie for you. Watch it for yourself. But at the very last Hunger Games, right? The very last one of the Hunger Games, which I believe is number 3. I could be wrong. It could be number 4. Pretty sure it's number 3, though. At the end of that, they expose the Matrix to you, and they expose right there in plain sight Jennifer Lawrence and PETA and some of the other characters in that last Hunger Games movie. They show you the Matrix. So does the movie The Matrix. They show you that there are like this group of men around a table, like this table that is so high tech, where they can just point their finger and make this, you know, arrive out of nowhere, like a lion attacks you, or here comes a river, or here comes a tsunami, or here comes a hurricane, or here comes a whatever. Or they could just let you, you know, continue on. But if you try to reach the end of the Matrix, they're going to stop you. They're going to build a wall. They're going to build a forest. They're going to build water. They're going to do whatever it takes to keep you inside of that Matrix and blinded at all times. So if you've ever seen the Hunger Games and you know exactly which Matrix I'm talking about at this point, you realize a lot of it runs off of electricity and or energy. Now that energy is coming from us. Why? Because everything we emit into the universe is a transmission. It is a transmission of energy. It is a transmission of a feeling, an action, a thought, any number of things. And some may call that the law of attraction. And that's exactly why the law of attraction, or AKA the secret, works. Because what you put out into the universe is exactly what you get back. If you focus hard enough on it, you want it bad enough, you draw yourself a vision board, there it is. It's going to come right to you, literally, like just plant it in your house, in your driveway, in your lap, whatever your dreams are. So guys, you know, the mind, it is capable of creating anything and making anything become a reality. There is no cap, no limit. You know, like the movie Limitless. They tell us humans, right, that we only use 10% of our brain. They make a movie called Limitless, where there's this magic pill that will allow you to open up the other, I don't know how many, I'm not even going to say 90%, but let's just hypothetically say 75%. That is the awakening process. Hello, welcome to it. Here we are right now. You are on the limitless pill right now. You don't need an actual pill. You're awakening. You wake up. You see what's going on. You see that there is inside of this world an inner ring in the very center of it that is run by big name peoples, and their bloodlines go way back. They can be, draconians. They can be the Queen of England. They can be reptilians. They can be demons. It doesn't matter who or what they are, but there is this war going on that we have no clue. And the war is between, again, let me word this carefully. It's between ancestors. So maybe, for example, I might say it's between, Greek gods and goddesses, or any other type of gods or goddesses, or, just a myriad of different kinds of gods and goddesses, to include the God that is in the Bible that people read every single day, to include the demons that people conjure up every single day. And, people willingly admit that they have sold their soul to. Okay, and I know that might have been a little bit confusing right then, but just listen. It's like a round table. It's like that picture of the Last Supper, where Jesus and his friends are gathered around that table at the Last Supper. Okay, well, that is the innermost ring, the center point, perfectly positioned at a very specific point in the globe, so that it is literally perfectly centered. Its radius is perfection. Okay, and then outside of that ring, well, just for a minute, just imagine that the people inside of that ring, those are our rulers. Okay, they are rulers, and you can totally tap into them. You can reach out to them. You can try to sell your soul to them. If you want fame, go for it. They're right there, hidden in plain sight. And outside of that ring, well, they have to have paths to get through to everybody. If you want to tap into, the core of it, and then the people in the core of it ruling this universe that we live in, this globe, this world that we live in, they transmit their energy and their cruel jokes and their weather, or their, global warming, or whatever it is that they want to emit, and they send it out. It's like a literal transmission. It's like literal electricity or literal lightning, which the Hunger Games pretty much draws you a picture with crayons, like a child could understand. So if you took the Hunger Games seriously for a minute, you'd realize, and if you listen to this show enough or do your own research, you don't have to believe me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you awaken, as long as you wake up. So that's basically why everybody is asleep. Everybody's a sheep. And let me take that just a notch further. So now there's the people around a hypothetical table, just like pictured in the Last Supper, because this is all about brainwashing. Okay, it's about brainwashing. It's about subliminal language. It's about visual subliminal use of language. It's about playing records backwards. It's about every single commercial that we watch. It's about every sign that you see. It's about every word that anyone of any importance says, and the effect that has on every single one of us, because it triggers something in every single one of us. Every time you watch a movie, it triggers something in you that you don't even realize is going on. Subconscious, guys. But when you become awakened, or you begin to awaken, or you become interested in becoming awakened, you start to become conscious of the things that are subconsciously being said to you, shown to you, fed to you constantly. And guys, this is why I don't watch the news. I mean, I watch movies, but I pick my movies and I watch them on purpose, and I just laugh at how obvious this stuff is. So, 1 second, please. Sorry, guys, sipping on some cranberry juice here. It's a couple days after Christmas, and cranberry juice is good for you. So, do you see what I just did right there? I said cranberry juice is good for you. Do you believe me? Why? Because I said it? Because I said it on the radio? Because I just transmitted and emitted it out into the world, and now people are going to believe that cranberry juice is good for you just because I said so? There you go. You're awakening. Just that one statement alone just helped you to awaken. Now imagine that there are all these rulers around this center in the middle of the globe, in the middle of the universe, who know that we're just another planet. I mean, that's common sense. We're just another planet. Of course there's life on other planets, but there are these people gathered around, and to mock it and to make people believe that there is always this impending doom, right? Everyone has to believe in something. You can give people hope or you can give people fear. It doesn't matter which one you give them. Give them a little bit of both. Why not? Everyone sitting around this table smack in the middle of the globe is giving you a little bit of everything. A little bit of hope, a little bit of fear, a little bit of question, a little bit of knowledge, and all you have to do is open your eyes and look, and it's just right there. We live in a matrix. That matrix is controlled by the people in the center of the globe who are the rulers. And you can call them by any name in which you would like to call them, and it doesn't matter. This is DNA bloodlines that go back way, 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 way back, centuries and hundreds and thousands of centuries, like pre-Jesus and pre-dinosaurs and whatever. And some of those stories that they teach us in school about dinosaurs, they're pretty much talking about reptilians. And when I say bloodlines, I'm talking about the Reagans, the Kennedys, the Bushes, the Queen of England. I'm talking about very specific people who seem to have lived forever and ever and ever, and their legacy just keeps going on and on and on and on. Well, they're royal bloodlines. And no matter what name you call this by, there are these royal bloodlines that rule at this quote-unquote table right smack in the middle of the earth, which I'm just going to call the center. That's the center of our matrix. Everything outside of that center, everything outside of that center, this is the world that we live in. We're not in the center. We're all around it. Everything that is emitted and transmitted in or out, every wavelength, everything that you hear on the radio, all the white noise, every single literal thing, literally every single thing is controlled by the people sitting at what I'm going to call now the Last Supper's table. They're sitting there pushing buttons, and we are not even aware of it. And every button that they push, it creates this reaction in us as human beings, right? This is just assuming that anybody listening right now is an actual human being and doesn't, transform into a reptilian or something like that. And if you do, cool, hey, that's great. I actually support it. But, normal human beings, we have different DNA. We're made of different genetic material, and we're kind of suckers for stupid stuff. You got a movie that comes on that tells you that this is the way life goes, or a commercial that says this is what you should do or this will happen, right? Every day in life, are there not signs everywhere that basically say if you don't do that, get drunk, get pulled over, go to jail, right? There's always an impending doom. Every single religious person right now has been saying for years that it's going to be the end of the world. I can remember, dating back to 2000 when they said that all of our cars weren't going to start. And by the way, they weren't even electric at that point. They were just regular old school cars that you just turn the key and turn it on. Now we have electric cars. So I could see why the obvious next thing to be fearful of and the obvious next apocalyptic thing that could transpire and most likely will, I'm pretty sure it will, is a complete blackout. What we do is move everything to electronics. We move it out of the just turn the key and turn the engine on, and we move it into a greener, safer space. We build windmills. We have everything going green. We make things that, are not polluting the world and are not causing, global warming and all of those little things, right down to our iPhones and our tablets and our computers. We're turning the whole world into a digital world ruled by that little table in the center of the earth, Okay, so we transform every single thing into a digital world, because digital, it replicates information, it transforms information, it duplicates information, it contains information, it retains information. And guess what, guys? For those of you that aren't awakened yet at this point in the show, you're providing that information. What happens when you get on Facebook and you try to set up an account? Your name, your address, your age, your birthday, you are literally donating every single thing about yourself. So any theory of anybody being chipped, you chipped yourself. Every time you sign up to social media, you literally brand yourself. You gave the information away. And even if it's fake information, you have fake profiles, it still goes right on back to your web address or wherever you are posting from. It's following you again, in different ways, using technology and digital information and GPS locations. Anybody who has a phone that's smart, think about it. What makes it so smart? You teach your phone about yourself. It learns your habits, and we agree to this, myself included. I am like the biggest iPhone fan. I realize it is recording every single word I'm saying. I realize that there's a two-sided camera on it because it's watching everything around me and knows exactly where I'm at. And let me take that just a step further beyond technology of phones and smartphones and the digital world that we are converting into. And most places, specifically where I live, Austin, or places like Japan, like we're like way ahead of everyone else. I mean, my God, we have a car vending machine. Literally, you literally walk up and put a little fake coin into a machine and you vend out the car that you want. It's called Carvana. Look it up. For real. So, but back to the digital technology, the age of the Aquarius that we're living in right now. This is the age of the digital age. This is the future. This is where robots come in. This is where everything gets smarter because we gave it the information to let it be. We created it. The person who created Facebook was a genius. I'm not sure he knew what he was doing, but he was genius. And where is he now? He's 6 feet under. He's dead. Why do you think that is? I'm going to leave that one alone just right there for a minute. And let's talk about where this is going to take us in the future. As we continue to evolve as human beings who continually supply the universe our information, our private information, yet we supposedly want isolation and privacy and blah, 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 and you can't figure out how people know this or this or this. Dude, you literally gave it to them, literally handed it to them on a platter. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen next. And this is national. I don't know if it's international, but it's nationwide at this point. The next thing that's going to happen in the next year, I believe it has to be done by 2019. It's called, I can't even say this with a straight face. It is literally called a real ID. ID like identification. So everyone is to turn over their driver's license and go get a real ID. Let me tell you about that real ID. That real ID. You know what you need to bring with you? It's like way worse than getting a passport. You need to bring your social security card. They fingerprint you. They run your social security number and attach it to it. They put a chip in it. It's got the layers, hieroglyphic layers in it also. And I'm pretty sure you might even have to submit a blood sample. And probably I'm just being extreme with the blood sample, but it basically asks for everything but your blood sample. And people, you guys, you're agreeing to it. You are trading in your driver's license for a technologically advanced driver's license isn't even a word. You have to have a real ID. And I'm not joking when I say it's called a real ID. The literal verbiage is real ID. So like I have to go trade in I'm not going to do it, but all of us are going to have to trade in our IDs, go to the DMV or whatever it's called in your state and and you have to go get a real ID. You better be prepared. Bring your birth certificate, bring your social security number, prepare to get fingerprinted, prepare to have your picture taken from multiple angles, prepare to have, hieroglyphic things inside of that real ID so that you can what? You cannot run. Prepare for the chip that's going to be in that real ID that has all of your information, so that when a police officer pulls you over and you hand them your real ID, they have everything that they need about you just based off of that. And we're moving to a place where it's a digital world. So at some point, all these movies that we see about, just like The Matrix, where the phone just pops up and has a screen up in the middle of the air floating around, and it's this digital screen, or kind of like the Apple iWatch thing when it came out, when that article came out about you could literally use your iPhone just by looking at your wrist. Okay, and I don't know what it was called, and I don't know where the development is on where that's at developmentally wise, but they were building this device where you just wear this bracelet, and this digitalized technological screen comes on your literal arm while you're in the bathtub. And you can press the buttons on your arm, and now you can talk to it and tell it what to do, and it's there. You don't even need a physical phone anymore. You literally, your phone is like a literal arm due to this bracelet. And okay, back to the real ID. So everybody is going to be forced by law. It is a law. Look it up. Look up REAL ID. Real ID. Not kidding, guys. Everything that you need to know about the truth is hidden in plain sight. And you know what? You can be submissive or not. There's no crime in not getting your real ID, except you'll never be able to get on an airplane. You'll never get a passport. You'll never be able to leave the country. You probably won't even be able to leave the state, and you probably won't even be able to leave your house at some point. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that speaker was on, and I apologize. My phone is ringing, and it was, interesting timing because, like I said, everybody's watching us. Our phones have cameras on them. Did you know, and I can prove this, that you can turn your smartphone off, literally kill it, run over it, put it in a dumpster 4 blocks away from your house, and it can still hear, see, record every single thing that you are doing. Same with your laptops, guys. Same with your computer. Same with any kind of camera. Same with the cameras on the streets. And that, again, is the whole point of transforming into a digital world. This is the matrix that we live in. This is it. We live in a matrix. Visible and invisible, it still stands. It's still here. You can submit to it. You can go get a real ID and basically just go ahead and give them your DNA and your blood sample, and they'll see if you're worthy enough of, to continue living on this earth, if you can contribute enough to, society or not, or whatever. And you could ignore what I'm saying and do nothing and go down and get your real ID. But either way, you're getting your real ID because you either are going to get it because for either convenience or because it's the law, a literal actual law that goes into effect, I believe, in February of 2019. Don't quote me on that. But I promise you it is a law, and you're going to have to literally hand over your driver's license and go get a real ID. And so, therefore, every time you go to a stop sign, right, and anything, okay, back to the matrix, back to the digital world just for a quick second, right? Back to the little bracelet that you can put on, and it brings a screen on your actual arm while you're, in the bathtub. It doesn't even matter where you are. It's just like the movie The Matrix. Just the screen pops. You got a bracelet, and it pops a screen up every time your phone rings, and you could just use your literal wrist to dial a number or tell it what to do or tell it to record, and this screen pops up, right? Just like in all the movies that you see these days. Every one of them, they're future driven, they're technologically advanced, and y'all think that that's so far in the future, like the Jetsons, right? No. That's the world that we live in right now. That is the matrix that we live in right this second, every single day, every second of every single day. And the more you submit, the more you stay asleep. So whatever. Imagine you're driving down the street and you're wanted for a crime from, I don't know, 10 years ago for something stupid that you didn't do. You know, you wrote a hot check to Domino's Pizza for $10 or something crazy like that. And they never did find you, and they never really did, you know, pursue this issue or whatever happened. You couldn't be found. You know, that's it. They couldn't find you. And then you go get a real ID. You trade in your actual driver's license voluntarily at the DMV or the DPS or whatever they call it in your state. You go get a real ID with your social security number attached to it, with your fingerprints literally attached to it, basically your DNA attached to it. And it's also got a chip in it. So there's your chip for those of you that believe in, branding or being 666 marked by the beast or whatever. That real ID, that one does it right there. That one tops it, actually, right there. And you pull up to any street light, right? You just drive down the street. What happens at every single street light, every major intersection? There are cameras. And that camera is pinging, right? Just like your cell phone pings off of towers. And if you don't know what that is, go ahead and Google that too. And wake up to what a ping is. You know, this is how you find missing persons and things like that. Even if the phone is turned off, like I'm saying. The phone, even if it's turned off, even if you run over it, even if you throw it away, even if you bang it against the wall, it's still recording every single move that we make. And we're allowing it. Why? Because we buy it. Because it's cool. Because this version is so much cooler than that version, and every single version that comes out is smarter than the last. And I'll be the first to admit, my new iPhone, which I believe is an iPhone 9 or an X or something, I don't even know. I can't even keep up with it at this point. It's actually smarter than me, and I have never once been outsmarted by any of my iPhones. I am an avid iPhone lover, user, etc., etc. I'm also an avid, no way I'm getting that real ID, not happening. You're not going to go to jail, but you basically can't leave your house, your city, your street, or your country. And any crime that you've ever been committed of, or not, or maybe someone's just looking for you who happens to work in, one of these organizations that retain your information, be it Apple, be it Google, be it whoever, be it, the actual IRS, whoever it is that's looking for you. You go to a stop sign, a major intersection, you've got a camera. The camera pings your phone. It also pings now your real ID. That is double, 2 times, guys, double verification, double validation that it's not just somebody borrowing your car. You got your phone pinging off of this tower at this stoplight, pinging off of your new real ID. Literally, it's got your like this digital screen comes up. It's got your name, your face, how many children, what your age is, your social security number, everything you've ever been in trouble for in your life or not, every single thing about you. Now, where do you think that's leading you in the matrix of the world that we live in? Because you only have a couple choices. You either get with the program and get rich and famous and sell your soul to what you may call the devil or not or whatever, and join the Illuminati, and that's fine and cool, and I totally support that. Or you stay asleep or stay a sheep, and you go to the DMV and you turn over your driver's license and you go get yourself a real ID, and the next time you get like a ticket in the mail or pulled over out of nowhere when you thought nobody could find you because you thought you were quote unquote off the grid, yet you're over here using smart devices. They're called smart for a reason, guys. They're not stupid. And no matter how much you turn them off, they're not off. Never. They're always recording every word. So this is the point where you're going to call me a conspiracy theorist, because I'm going to tell you that I have tape over my camera, like a piece of paper and tape over every camera in my house. But I'm also going to admit that I have a smart house. My whole house has been converted into a smart house. I've got a doorbell that I can tell Alexa to show me the door, and she'll show me the doorbell, and everything's cameras and recording. And again, I am submitting to this. I voluntarily bought it. I literally spent my own money buying it. So, if you think that little center of the globe of these people ruling the world, getting richer and richer and richer off of our stupidity, because we are not awakened enough, because some commercial has convinced us that this is so cool that we save our money or don't save it. We recklessly, don't pay something and then buy this cool thing instead purposefully. If you don't think they're laughing at us, guys, you are dead wrong. Seriously. So, that's pretty deep, and that is very heavy. And I know that I just laid a ton of information on you in a very short amount of time. And I know that it may seem like I'm talking a million miles an hour, but I have to put a lot of information in every one of these episodes because I only get 1 hour with you. And in that 1 hour, I'm not trying to convince you to do anything. I'm just making you aware of what you already know. I'm just getting you to open your eyes. Like, stop staying asleep. There's more to this world than just waking up and going to work and come home and eat dinner and put the kids to bed and get up and take them to school and go to work and come home and da-da-da-da-da and save up and buy the new iPhone or get a smart house or get a smart outlet or learn how to turn your kitchen lights off with an Apple house or a Google house or an Alexa house or whatever, and just realize that every single move that we make, every single thing that we buy, we are allowing ourselves not only, no. We are volunteering everything about what we think is our private life just because the phone is cool, the commercial said so, the movie had subliminal messages in it, our favorite song had subliminal messages in it. Play it backwards. Eminem, one of his songs, he says, you think you know what live is, spell it backwards, I'll show you. You take the word live, you spell it backwards, and it spells the word evil. Everything you know is inverted. We live in an inverted, technology risen, completely controlled, just like sheep, matrix of a world. And if you disobey, what happens? There's always this impending doom that the world's going to come to an end, that an apocalypse is going to happen. And do you want to know who controls what happens after we become fully transformed into a digital world? And even like the oldest people in the world are formed to comply with little things like real IDs, because no person's going to get left behind on this. Every single person, no age limit. At some point they're even going to require our children to have real IDs when they're born. But at this point we're at the stage where when you give birth to a child, they take your child away for like 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes, and they say they're going to clean the baby up and bring the baby back. But what they're really doing is taking your baby's fingerprints and footprints, and that's why they bring you that cute little card with the baby's footprints on it and the baby's name. Well, how do you know they haven't chipped your baby while they took the baby to the nursery as you gave birth? So see, whatever we think we know about knowledge, we don't know anything. We know nothing. As far as we know, our children have been chipped since the second that they were born. Now, my generation may not have been chipped, but my generation is being forced to comply with laws, and my parents' generation and my grandparents' generations are being forced to comply with laws, or da-da-da-da-da-da will happen. There's always an impending doom. So with that, again, I'm sorry I laid it on you so thick and so heavy. I hope that I have at least helped open your eyes just a touch. And one more quick thing while you're Googling interesting facts about stuff that you didn't know about. I'd like you to go on to Netflix, right? And watch the movie The Birdcage with Sandra Bullock. It just came out December 21st. There's this scene where she's standing there in front of these birds, and that's all I'm going to give away as far as giving things away. And then remember what I said about all the celebrities. You've got your black and white tile, you've got your sex kittens, and every one of them talks about a bird cage. Why? Because people were trapped inside of a bird cage that we can't get out of. We don't rule this world. No. There's this whole underground world, and if somebody actually, like, quote-unquote sells their soul to the devil or whatever they want to do with it to become rich and famous, you're going to that underground base. And it's not just them, it's other people too, like normal people, regular, normal, everyday people too. And, the birdcage, the thing is we're trapped in it. You can't get out of the matrix. You can't outsmart it. Heck, we're paying for it. We're paying to be outsmarted with our own phones. So anyway, that's it. That's the episode tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned a little bit. If not, just go ahead and Google everything I said and listen to this again tomorrow on iHeart. It will be there forever and ever and ever. It will be on ClearSource forever and ever and ever. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Tiffany H. Lewis with Decoding the Unknown, and have a great night.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Decoding the Unknown. Download the ClearSource radio app before our next show and like us on social media for even more excitement. Follow Tiffany H. Lewis on Facebook for upcoming shows. To book your interview and have your Beyond This Realm True Encounter heard live on iHeartRadio. And, if you dare, view the astonishing actual pictures, audio, and evidence taken on location by Tiffany for every episode. You won't believe your eyes. The truth is mystifying.